Hello and welcome to the Common Sense Gospel. I am Danny Simmons, and this is the handsome hick, also known as...
No.
Hello and welcome to the Common Sense Gospel. I'm Danny Simmons.
And I'm Kurt Norbert.
Last week, we looked at the Lord's Church, and we titled that The Lord's Church Part 1. We focused on what the Scriptures say. We basically laid the groundwork for God's desire for His church and what the church should be doing in service to Him. As we begin this second part, we'll talk specifically about this local congregation that Kurt and I are both members of, Northwest Church of Christ in Austin, Texas. And we want everyone who's listening to understand basically what we're talking about and who we are. We have about 150 souls in our directory, as a matter of fact, and we're thinking about some of the things that churches can and should do or should be doing. Our summer singing is tomorrow as we're recording this, but when everyone hears it, it'll be yesterday. So it was awesome. Lord willing, it was awesome. Our theme this year, as we move through the year with the local church, is one another. And so in light of that, Kurt and I asked our members if they would be willing to share any stories they have that deal with the members here at Northwest specifically, and just ask them, what are some things that brethren have done for you recently? And also, what have you done for others? And so we'd like to share what was given to us, and we hope that everyone will benefit from this. We also need to tell all of you that this doesn't even scratch the surface when it comes to the things that are being done here in this local church. I believe that all of our members take the words of Jesus in Matthew 6, verses 1 through 4, and they should. Jesus says in Matthew 6, "Take heed that you do not do your charitable deeds before men to be seen by them. Otherwise you have no reward from your Father in heaven. Therefore, when you do a charitable deed, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory from men. Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward. But when you do a charitable deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, that your charitable deed may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will himself reward you openly." Almost all the feedback we got from our members is basically telling us about other members. So most of our members just told on each other. They didn't try to share things about themselves or glorify themselves because of that principle that's found there. And it's just another beautiful part of who we are here locally, that no one's looking to be applauded by men. These things are just done because the heart is given first to God, and then as God commands to our brethren. And as we move through, we're going to start here in just a minute, but as we move through, we want everyone, again, to be thinking about these different examples that have been given to us as we share them, and then apply it. If it can be applied to your personal self, just say, can I do that? Or is that something that would help the congregation where I attend? Because we're not the way to do things, but we can open doors. We say, oh, I never thought about that. I mean, that happens to me all the time here when I hear about something that someone has done. And so we hope that it'll be great benefit to all of you as we kind of go through these and you hear some of the things that have happened here in just a recent past couple of weeks. We want to say, too, that there are two men who have been members here for a very long time. We jokingly call them charter members. I don't know why I think that's so funny, but, it's like when a Christian says, hey, I'm a charter member. It's like, no, we're all brethren. We're all members of the Lord's church. But the joke, the charter member idea is that they've been here for a long time. And these two men have built this place, I think, physically with the assistance they've given in caring for the building and everything that is involved with that, but also in building up of the brethren and adding to the Lord's church as they've been an example and share the gospel with others. And I want to say their names so bad. So bad, but I can't because we promised we wouldn't. And the other thing is that they would kill me. And so I don't want that to happen either. They're both retired, and they spend all of their time helping their beloved brethren. They secretly run around town and do anything and everything for anyone who asks. And the only way I can say this is they're like spiritual ninjas. I find out they're there, or I hear a week later that they jumped in and helped before anyone else even knew about it. They really are spiritual ninjas. They show up with everything that's needed for the job. They show up with ladders, chainsaws, tools, trailers, floor jacks, air compressors, tree loppers, and everything else under the sun you could possibly imagine. They have it, and it's not for them. They have it, and it's for you. It's such an amazing thing. So Kurt and I, since we can't use their names, we tried to think of names to give them. And we came up with Click and Clack, which got shot down. Frank and Jesse James. Thor and Loki. Mario and Luigi, I thought was pretty good. Bert and Ernie, but none of those stuck. We had one of them agree to be called Itchy and Scratchy. So that's what we're going to call them, and we still don't know which one's which, but we know that we're going to call them Itchy and Scratchy. And so to really bring this home and to make it serious, didn't one of them help you with your trip back from Lithuania?
Yeah, when I got back, this was last year when I came back from my second trip there. This individual offered to pick me up at the airport, and I was grateful for that. But they live way up north of Austin, so he had to drive all the way down there. Well, I won't even say had to drive. He wanted to drive. He was willing to drive all the way down to the airport on the southern side of the city to pick me up. He's there right on time and everything, but my baggage wasn't. So it turned out it was put on the next flight from Dallas to Austin. And so I had to sit there and wait for an hour till the next plane came in. And then while they were unloading that baggage, he was willing to do that. So we sat there for an hour, got to visit and chat and what have you. My bag was actually the last one down the conveyor belt off of that second plane. So it's like, you're going to wait, buddy. But no complaint.
Right.
And then he took me and dropped us off at a friend's house who, in this same theme, had offered to keep my car at their place while I was gone because I can't leave it parked at my apartment. They'll tow it away. So he took me there, visited for a few minutes, and then has to drive all the way back home. And that was a long evening, but not one word of complaint, just happy to serve.
Yeah, servant with a servant's heart. Mm-hmm. So we'll call him Itchy because Scratchy also did the very same thing for me when I needed surgery. When I first moved here, this congregation didn't know who I was or if they were even going to keep me. So I had to have surgery on my hand, and he said, I'd be happy to come and get you. And I thought, oh, okay. And I didn't know where he lived at the time. But I'm South Austin. I'm south of the river. That's where we were staying when all this took place. And so I said, well, I'm supposed to be at the doctor's office 6 a.m., and is that okay? Because again, I don't know where he's driving from. He's like, yeah, no problem. I will be there. So I get up and it's dark outside, and I look out the window. I'm still getting ready. I am not ready. I look out the window and the car is out front, and it was 5:30 in the morning. And then I realized that he'd driven for almost an hour to get there, and I thought, man, that's what we're talking about. Those are the moments in our lives when you say, you know what? This person has done so much for me with zero payback from me, other than whatever friendship I can offer. The Itchy and Scratchy are the ones who taught me, I think, at a deeper level that it really is okay to just serve God and don't wait for your reward. And, they are always taking it to the next level. So those things made a strong impact on me when I first came here. And I thought, now they want me to preach to these people, and they've got this figured out better than I do. That's a challenge. So again, here's the point as we go through this. As we share these great blessings that we've been able to be a part of, we'd like all of you to be thinking about the congregation where you attend. The questions are, what can I do? What around us needs attention? Who needs attention, or who needs encouragement? What's a new way for me to be an encouragement to others? Because we can always abound. We can always do better. We can always look for those opportunities. And so let me just read through a few of these as they sent me these notes. The first one I have here is from a mother and a loving wife. And she says that when she was recovering from foot surgery, one sister from the congregation brought lasagna to the house. And again, she lives so far away. When this Christian woman's son was in the hospital this last time, a couple of generous gift cards were sent to them so they could have meals while they were in the hospital. And she says here, our congregation is good at food. Boy, that's true. In fact, so much love and care was given to our family while we navigated our son's illness. Cards, calls, visits in the hospital, and most importantly, all the prayers to our Father for our precious son. Little things, too, like a young lady who worships and serves at the local church made a little crochet frog just because. or even a young man who lives by himself but owns a home. He had our kids over for video games and pizza and spent the day with them and just, had fun and entertained them. She goes on to say that she's received calls from an elderly sister even when she's not feeling well herself. They get text all the time from people who know what she's going through and the hard time she's had with her personal family, especially with the passing of her grandmother. So again, just, someone's life is being worked out, and you have case by case by case where someone said, I can at least get up underneath this with you and support the weight.
And that's what Paul's talking about in Galatians chapter 6, verse 2. He says, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Paul is just saying that's what it's all about. You're fulfilling the law of Christ when you help someone carry the load that they're under. You help them with that. And then down in verse 10, he says, therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good for all, especially to those who are of the household of faith.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we see. When opportunities come up, it's like bees to honey. It's just people, what can I do? What do you need? Here's something, I know you can, I'll supply this so you don't have to worry about it during this time. That's just an outpouring. And in times it's overwhelming.
That's right. And it means so much. It means so much. We have another gentleman who wrote to us and he said, I sent out encouraging cards last week to 4 brethren dealing with life issues. This same gentleman now, he didn't mention this, but 2 men have been baptized this past week because of the studies he's been doing with his men. And he wrote, as he followed up with that, he said, what I've received this week is encouragement from our brethren over the requests that I've made from the church, dealing with my friend that I've been studying with. Also, I was encouraged by a brother at Northwest who helped me with the verses that I should read to my friend. And here's the note to the congregation that he sent out on Thursday, May 23rd. It says, thank you for all your prayers for my friend. He was just baptized for the remission of sins. Praise God. So, think about all these different members looking for opportunities to help each other. And then you've got this other individual that we've just talked about who is on the phone every week with his Bible open, reading through passages, answering questions, facilitating that conversation, and patiently, it took over a year for both of them, patiently working through what needed to be said and heard so that God's end would finally come. And to watch that happen in 2 different cases, it just blows my mind. I think that's amazing. He's done such good work. One other young couple who is expecting a child. They are members here, relatively new members with us. It says there have been so many times people have done things to show us their love in the congregation. We feel their love even when they aren't present because they affect our daily lives. That's what we were talking about. But more recently, with layoffs occurring, we have had multiple people taking precious time out of their days to help us review cover letters and resumes. They have gone way out of their way and have taken time out of their day to help find jobs that they feel will be good roles for us, and even connected us with other members of the congregation that could help us. They have even taken time out of their days to physically meet with us, to introduce us to people in person, and talk about open positions. They've prayed for us and have done so much more than anyone ever needed to do for us. We truly appreciate the time these members have taken out of their days to help us, because time is so valuable, and the fact that they are making time in their day to do all of this is just such a blessing. One of these members recently found a job posting I had not seen that was a perfect fit, and thanks to them and to God, I was able to get the position. I truly could not have done it without their love, support, encouragement, and prayers. Man.
The things you've mentioned and the things we're going to look at as we continue this, it just puts me in mind of what Jesus was teaching in the great judgment scene in Matthew 25. He talks about those on his right hand who, when Jesus was sick, they visited him, and in prison, and they came to him. When he was hungry, they gave him something to eat, and when he was thirsty, they gave him water. And they would naturally ask, Lord, when did we do these things for you? And he says, inasmuch as you've done it to to any of these, the least of my brethren, you've done it to me. And these are people that believe that and put it into action. They want to serve Jesus. And Jesus says, when you are serving a member of my body, well, that means you're serving me.
That's right.
That person, that he's a hand to me, and this one over here is a foot, and this one is my mouth because he's teaching all the time, and just on and on. So when we're ministering to people like that, to brethren in need or whatever the situation is, we're ministering to Jesus. And people are excited to do that. We have members here that they're not thinking about brownie points or any of that stuff. It's just an automatic response that, hey, here's a need, here's an opportunity, and I can do this to help with that. And so they're there.
That's right. Yeah, it's so cool to watch. Another note we have from a brother in Christ. It says, "Hey, brother, I have a personal thing to offer. When we moved here, the congregation was very welcoming. This goes beyond folks just saying hello and shaking our hands. Genuine care and concern on the part of the members towards newcomers is so important. People went out of their way to speak to us and have conversations with us, and then invited us to various get-togethers and to have meals with them. It's really easy to feel ignored as a visitor or as a newcomer. I won't name names, but several made it their mission to make us feel like family." And that's a beautiful thing, too. And I remember when they came, this gentleman, I spoke to him on the phone. He was kind of asking me just some questions about what we teach, what we believe. And I was saying, please come. We want to add members. I had already gotten word of who he was, the faithful members of the church, and it'll be a great addition to any congregation. And there's more than just us in this area. They could have chosen someone else. And so I was like really hoping and praying that they would come. And so as much as I wanted that to happen, I didn't go tell everybody, look, when these folks show up, you jump on top of them. I didn't give any instruction for that. I didn't need to. It goes back to what you said. It's who we are, which is why in the previous podcast, we talked at length about churches having personalities, that we do have a personality. We look like something to those, especially visitors that come in. They're going to get an impression of us, whatever that might be. And we can't always be on top of our game. But I would say for the most part, we are firing all cylinders and we are just serving the Lord.
Well, I've heard that particular theme on several occasions, not just with these folks that moved in. And that's so important. You're moving in, I think they came from out of state and moved here to Texas.
Yes, they did.
And, you're in a new place, new culture, new people. It's all brand new, and you can feel a little uneasy about that. But we're family. Mm-hmm. It's just like family from across the country comes and visits you on Thanksgiving or whatever, or you're happy to see them. You welcome them because they're already part of the family.
That's right.
And so the reaction was based on that. We were thrilled to see them, making them feel welcome, put them at ease, get that nervousness, take that burden off, make them feel comfortable, because we just want to do that. And the point I was going to make is I've heard that on not just from them, but people would comment, I was really made to feel welcome here. It was so inviting. I felt right at home. People just came up to me and said hi and, wanting to find out how things are going and where I'm from and just share things with me. That's what a family does, a family that is working in love.
Yes, sir.
And all of these things, this is what James is talking about when he says in James 2:28, "Show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works." These are things that are done in faith. I want to serve the Lord. And here's an opportunity, here's a way to do that with these folks, whatever the situation might be. And that's, if they're Christians and they're looking for a place to worship, that's going to make them feel welcome and at ease. If they're not Christians, that's going to be inviting. They're going to say, hey, this is different from what I've heard about churches. And so they're become excited. They want to know more. Why are you guys like this?
That's right.
And so there's a chance to talk to them about Jesus. we're like this just because we're trying to follow Jesus, and that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less.
And the heart of it all, like you said, is faith. We believe that God will reward and that he'll do it his way, and that we're content with that. That's such a blessing to begin with. A lot of the members here, especially Itchy and Scratchy, when I say, let me pay you, or, what can I do? I owe you, or whatever, they get mad. And,
they don't like that idea.
Some say, why would you try to take my blessing? I think blessing, you're covered in head to toe with sweat, and you cut your arm, pulling tree limbs all day and cutting down tree limbs. And they say it's a blessing, and it's not a trick. It is,
and that really is the attitude behind it. That probably the next one you're going to look at talks about that, where this individual considers it a joy and not a chore.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
To serve.
Yeah,
and that really is it. And you're right, Itchy and Scratchy. If they drive halfway across the city to do something for you, and you offer, hey, let me pay for your gas. Oh, no, that's all right. No, they don't. They just want to serve.
I know,
and that really is the blessing. And I think on the other hand, we've talked about this before. We need to be alert to allow people to serve us,
right?
Maybe because we often think, oh, I don't really need any help. Well, when someone says, hey, I heard this is going on, let me do this for you. Well, let them do it, because that is a blessing. To serve Jesus Christ is a blessing.
Yeah.
And so don't take that from them.
No, everyone benefits from it as well. I've just, as you say that, the gas money and all, I've tried to leave not dollar bills, but money like in a cup holder. And you're like, what's over there? Make them look a different way and then stick the money in the cup holder. And when I come back to the building and I sit down at my desk, there's the money sitting on my desk.
Brought it back.
And with a note that says, don't try that again. I'm like, man, I can't even give these people money. That is because it goes back to, that's not what I was doing.
That's not the point. Yep.
You've misunderstood what my goal was, and it's just such a beautiful thing. And as you mentioned, this sister had written into us saying that a brother took me to an appointment when I needed a ride. And then she says, I fixed many meals for members really, throughout the process of time. And I consider that a joy, not a chore. And preparing that meal, adding the spices or whatever, some salt, and making it just the way people like it, or why it's your famous dish or what have you, to have that happen in love and then to be delivered in love. It's more than a meal. It'll serve its purpose, but man, there's so much more to it.
But it's a gift. It's an expression more than some food to eat.
Yeah.
It's what's behind it that makes it special.
Yeah, and she goes on to say that several members have stepped in and are helpful to her, providing emotional support. She's gone through some difficult times, looking for work, and some other things have happened. And someone notices from a distance and steps in and says, I've gone through this myself, or however they start that conversation. And so our members are recalling these moments. As we asked, what's been done for you? Just a flood of moments in time, like you and I are talking about, that help frame who we are, and it's all done out of love. We've got a young man he's been married here recently. Well, not recently. They've been married probably 7 or 8 years. But he wrote, I'm sure you're aware of the 19 people that showed up to help us move.
Oh, can I even use that many people?
I know.
It's just, that's what I'm talking about, overwhelming.
Yeah.
Just that response is, we've got so many people here, we can't fit them all into the job.
That's the one downside to having 19 people help move, is that there's only one doorway, maybe 2 entrances to the house, and we look like ants, just waiting in line to get through and to come out. It's still a beautiful thing. We're joking with each other.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
I love it.
Yeah, it's not work. It's a chance to be together and help someone out.
That's right.
It's such a joy.
It's time well spent. He goes on to say there's a particular brother who helps with the sound booth and will help whenever he can, which is more often than not. He even offers to help on task if he thinks he can help with fixing anything that comes up. He shows a lot of initiative and willingness to help despite not having any tech experience outside of the training he's gotten in the booth. The sound booth is the sound, the audio running through the slides as we have our singing. That is the most thankless job, I think, one of the most thankless jobs in the order of worship services. It's just, these things just happen, and we all just take it for granted. And yet there's someone back there who not only is making sure everything's doing what it's supposed to do to have a successful worship service, but they are also saying, what else can I do? And it's a thankless job. Everyone walks right by the sound booth, and no one.
Yeah, we've gotten
because
to take
it
it
works.
for granted. Yeah,
there's no reason to think about it because it works.
yep.
So I think that's amazing.
They help the worship service flow because the sound is up. They've got the slides going as the song progresses. They're turning those slides over on time to help us with our singing, and they're on their toes because during Bible study times, when someone from the audience is offering a comment, they'll turn a mic up, one of the choir mics that we have up, so that comment can be heard.
Oh, in the auditorium, yeah.
Yeah, in the auditorium. And then when that's finished, they'll turn it back down. So you're having to be aware of what's going on, plus, fiddling with all the knobs and stuff back there.
That's not easy. It is not easy.
So they're staying on top of things and keeping it running in an orderly manner.
Yeah.
And that is really a blessing to the congregation.
It really is. And it gets done every week. And we're so thankful to all of those individuals who help in that sound booth. The final thing he has here is that he was at the building one night working late, and as he closed the door, his keys fell inside the door. Mm-hmm. So the door shuts, and there's no way to get in from the outside there. So he called someone who lives relatively close, and during dinner time, and put his fork and knife down, got in the car, drove over with a key, and helped him get his keys so he could go home. And it's just, you think about the thousands of things just like that happen, and no one ever brings it up.
Little things, big things. Well, they're all big things.
That's right.
When it's service to Jesus, we talk about, this is a little thing. Well, that was a huge thing. Well, no, they're all big.
That's right.
It's like someone will look at someone who is visible to the congregation, like you preaching, or a song leader, or someone that is known and everyone's aware of what they're doing. Oh, he's doing a big job over there. But what about these sisters we've read about who are cooking for brothers and sisters in need, having wedding showers and baby showers that we've been blessed with a lot of them this last year. Mm-hmm. Those are big too. They're all big works. When you're ministering to Jesus Christ, it's important.
Yeah.
It doesn't, we look at it on our magnitude scale, but Jesus didn't say, well, when you visited me in the hospital and prison, that was a big deal because you had to come to these places and get past the guards in the prison and all that stuff. And when I was hungry and thirsty, you gave me a sandwich and a cup of water. It's a little thing. No, there was an equality there. You did this for me. You did this for me. You did this for me. Well, right. When did we do that? Because you helped one of the least of these, my brethren.
Yep.
So you helped me.
That's right.
So there is no gradient here of big job, little job.
No, you're a part of the greatest work that man could be called to do, and it's a phenomenal thing. I wish everyone knew who these people were because they all have personalities, and we have more to tie to these comments. So I think it's I feel like we're cheating, but there's no way to introduce you to everyone other than just reading what they wrote to us. So I'm going to go through several here, and I'm not rattling through it. I'm reading the things that were given to us, but also being mindful for everyone out there. Could I do that? Is this something for me? I think that would be so helpful. So another gentleman, a brother, wrote and said, I wouldn't brag about my acts of righteousness, but have had big favors done for me that were explicitly anonymous. That's what we've been talking about. A sister in Christ says, we have been blessed over and over again by our brothers and sisters at Northwest. They have shown love when we were going through difficult health problems by praying, sending sweet cards, and bringing over meals that showed up just when we needed it. Every time we walk in the door for assembly, we know we'll be greeted with smiles, hugs, and words of encouragement. We are so thankful for our church family. Another sister in Christ is given this individual list of people. One sister hired her teenage boys who were trying to make money doing yard work and small labor jobs. They diligently went every day in the summer in that heat to build her a crushed granite and stone patio. She overpaid them, and I know she is on a limited budget and still to this day brags about that patio every time she sees them. So everyone benefited from that. Another brother in Christ reached out to those same boys while they were in high school, connected with them on the topic of motorcycles, bought them the coolest light kits for their motorcycles. And that same man also was willing to check on someone and provided a bridge to gap a serious break in a relationship. As she continues writing about our individual members, she's labeled another one here. He is the kindest person ever. It's not Danny or Kurt, so we didn't make the list.
I think I know who's being talked about there. He does a lot behind the scenes.
Yes, he is the kindest person ever.
Just reaching out and connecting with people and doing things.
Yep. She says he arranged young people's bowling nights and hikes and get-togethers. Genuine Christian who's willing to share his faith. He really went above and beyond to connect the young people with one another. She mentions a sister in Christ who is a mentor and a friend to her. She's answered texts in the middle of the night, encouraged personal study and memorization of Scripture, weekly call for accountability for a whole year, provides wisdom in a time of crisis, never speaks evil, always looks for the people who are not connected or have needs that many are unaware of, and invites them for meals and cares for them in any way that she can. A beloved couple here at Northwest, as she writes about this couple, says they are true servants. They would give you the shirt off of their backs, always looking for an opportunity to encourage. When I was a young, struggling mother, she sent me a stash of chocolate, a book, and a very encouraging note to hang in there. I've never forgotten it. She and her husband used to have me over weekly for a computer game night when her husband was away to Florida for 6 months. She would make her glorious cookies, and he would laugh at me trying to solve 1980s computer games that he worked on. I was bad, but he never made fun of me. Other brethren, she mentions an older brother and sister in Christ who call and check on you when you're not at worship services. Another older brother who is a shut-in remembers to call me every birthday. A sister in Christ signs up for every meal list, is always the first to bring a donation for people who need meal assistance, or maybe they are getting married. Two men who are, as we know them, itchy and scratchy, she mentions them by name, frequently contribute generously to every fundraising effort for other members, and I know for volunteer work also. They once went and chopped and removed tree limbs for a single woman's yard after the great Snowmageddon. Remember the snowstorm we had?
Yeah.
They removed a tree from a woman's yard after working all day at the building doing the very same thing. There's more. Many meals and encouraging notes, words of wisdom have been offered to me from members at Northwest, and I appreciate them all.
Yeah.
Let me give you one more.
It just goes on and
I
on.
know.
It?
Yeah, we've got another list that we're not going to be able to get to, but a brother in Christ had just wrote a very emotional letter to us saying one of our family members passed away unexpectedly this year. He was taken from his young family at a very young age. The congregation jumped in and helped us in so many ways. Gift cards, warm letters of love and encouragement, money to help with financial needs, and everything else under the sun, day after day being lifted up even in their darkest hour, because the members here care about one another. He also says, and I think this is interesting because this is one of those for me that you say, oh, I could do that. But he told me that a few years ago, a friend was paid a finder's fee for bringing him into the company and being interviewed and getting hired. And so his friend tried to give him the finder's fee and he refused to take it. So we gave him half of it. And so he's like, okay, we'll split it. And so taking the half of the finder's fee, he puts it in his wallet and just says, this is the moment that started it for him. He says to himself, if anything comes up at services and someone has a need, I'll use it. And so at this time, when I first heard of this, he was visiting with us. And we just made a statement. Someone has come in. They're in need of help. If anyone wants to give, in this case, they weren't members of the church, but individuals have a responsibility and certainly an opportunity to share if they want to. So it's like, okay, we'll see what happens. He handed me this money. And so I said, well, you're not a member here. I really, really appreciate that. And he told me, I always keep it in my wallet in case something like this comes up. That's thoughtful. He's not thinking, well, my bank's down the street and I don't have it. That's not his attitude. He's already got it.
Yeah.
And he wants to help if he can. And that'll always be up to his discretion.
Yep. And that is an interesting thing. He was prepared to help when the opportunity came up. Here's the opportunity. I got this. It's like Barnabas in Acts 5, where he had some land to sell, and there were brethren in need there in the church in Jerusalem. So he sold the land and brought the money and laid it at the apostles' feet. I've got this. I can use this to help. So he's ready to do it. And like that individual, the money's in his wallet for whenever the chance comes up to help somebody. It's just an amazing thing. But, you mentioned the one who lost a family member. This last year, we've had quite a few instances of that, even just last week. Sudden, tragic accidents or untimely deaths, those are the ones that really hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Because when someone's dying, and, it's like 6 months with cancer or whatever, you know that's coming. You can kind of get ready for it, even though it still hurts. But when an 11-year-old grandson is hit by a car and is killed, you're not ready for that.
No.
When a child, an adult child, dies, the old saying is that parents shouldn't see their children die.
Right.
That hurts. And Romans 12:15 comes in. Paul says, rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. And we've had the opportunity to do that this year, to give encouragement, to offer whatever solace and comfort we can when these tragedies just strike. And that's what happens in this world. We live in a fallen world. We're vulnerable to that. It's going to happen. We're not privileged just because we're Christians. We live in this world too.
Yeah.
And life happens.
Yeah, that's right. And we do care for each other, just as you said. What we read about that in Romans, it's not just reading the text and go, oh, okay. It's how can I work this out in my life? That's a beautiful thing. I have to apologize to our elders. They sent us a list as well, 15, 20 items that I hope to read off, because we had asked them first, what have you all seen? Can you help us with this podcast? They were so good to give us a list. I would say, 15 or 20 things that were itemized that have just happened recently. And you mentioned babies. We had a baby was born yesterday.
Yeah.
That's added to this body, and a young couple having their first baby boy. And they're going to bring him home this afternoon if everything goes well, as we hope that it will. That's a beautiful thing. We have 2 more babies on the way. We got baby showers and wedding showers. And so there's the rejoicing with some of the sadness, because Christians are not immune to either. We have to walk through this life, and we're called to suffer for the cause of Christ. And so that's not something that God will save us from in this life, but he's given us the church. So we go through it together. I have someone who can hold my hand. And if I don't want that at that moment, I can just tell them, just give me some time. Sometimes I do have to be alone. But when I need it, I can call, and they will come running. And it's just such an amazing thing to be loved, right? To know that you're loved is immeasurable.
And sometimes you run across someone that says, well, I don't need the church. That person, not to get down on them or anything, they don't understand what they're saying. They don't know what the church is. And now maybe they've had an experience with a man-made church that has human origins, and they've been let down or whatever happened. But they're not familiar with the Lord's church when it's working.
It could be a faithful church who is struggling, because sometimes we're right down the line. Everything we're doing is right. Like we talked about last podcast, you've left your first love. Mm-hmm. Everything they were doing was great, and Jesus says, "I see that, but you better get back to the reason why all this is supposed to work the way it does." Right. Because you've left the heart of the matter. And so even a congregation who's got everything right can be so cold.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be. That's why we're saying, look at where you are, evaluate what's happening where you are, and step up. You're not there to criticize. We're there to see where the need is and then fill that need. And so it's, so many good things. I wish we had more time, but I realize for the listener's sake and for ours, we need to do our trivia questions and see if we can stump each other.
Yep.
And maybe a listener out there who knows their Bible, because they should.
Trivia, sweet trivia.
Who was it that Christ called that fox?
Oh, Herod.
That's right. Yep.
Tell
Herod
that
Antipas.
fox.
Tell that fox. Yep.
What's the passage?
It's Luke chapter 13, verses 31 and 32.
Did Jesus call a man a fox? So maybe the whole Bible isn't literal, huh?
I guess not. Unless the person could turn into a fox at night or something. Yeah, figurative
Nice.
language.
All right. So the first question for you, second question for everyone else. In the New Testament, we are commanded to greet one another with a holy kiss in 4 different letters. Can you name one of the 4 letters where this commandment is given?
James is one. Did I strike out? I had a chance at 4 of them, and I blew it. Huh? Well, see, that just shows how fallible we can be.
4 out of the 27.
Yeah, I can't, off the top of my head, on a question like that, I can't. I know greet one another with a holy kiss, but I can't place where it would be.
That's interesting because I thought with the 4 letters you could get one of them, but
Well, I'm getting older, so the memory banks are a little, they're kind of dusty,
oh,
I guess. I'll quit making excuses. I just don't know where they are off the top of my head.
so let me give them to you. Romans 16:16.
Yes, okay, yeah.
1 Corinthians 16:20.
I was thinking 1 Corinthians, yeah, when I was trying to. Okay.
2 Corinthians 13:12 and 1 Thessalonians 5:26.
Yeah,
I hope
there
everyone
we
can
go.
appreciate how much Kurt knew after I gave him the answer. He's like, I knew that.
Well,
Romans,
I knew,
Romans.
I knew 2 of them.
Oh, 1 Corinthians, yes, I was thinking about that one. All right, third question for everyone out
I had
there.
easy questions here, Tom. I'm going to think of a hard one now. How do you spell Methuselah? Oh, no. My question here's the second one, and the third for our folks out there. What were the names of the Roman governors that Paul was tried before? There were 2 of them.
Okay. Man, good thing I just went through the book of Acts with a fine-tooth comb. I'm thinking Felix and Festus.
That's right. Those are the 2. Acts 24, verse 3 for Felix, and Acts 25, verse 1 for Festus.
Okay.
I had fun with Festus last week. My granddaughters are learning Latin in school.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, now this man's name was Porcius Festus. What does that mean in Latin? Well, let's see. Porcius is a pig. Festus. They had to think about that when I said, well, fest. Think of that. Oh, like a festival or a party. And I said, yeah, so what is this man's name? Pig party? Nice name for a governor.
Pig party, most noble Festus. That's hilarious, man. That's good. Okay, final question for everyone. Final question for you, certainly. Where in the Bible were the believers first called Christians?
Acts 11:26. Now,
Acts 11:26?
I know that one.
But where was it?
Oh, in Antioch,
Yes, good job.
Syria.
You got both of them right.
because there are 2 Antiochs.
Oh, well done, sir.
So we need to be specific, huh, Danny?
Yes, sir.
So do I get my gold star back even though I blew the first question?
We'll leave that up to the listeners. I think, they're
Okay.
either nodding their heads
Yes.
yes, going, yeah, give the poor old guy a
Send in your
bone.
votes, and we'll go on that. We'll let.
But there's
let
others
them
who take
decide.
this very seriously, Kurt, and you shouldn't be sloppy with it. If you either know it or you don't.
This is true. You're right. It is the Bible after all.
Trying to get credit after being wrong. You said James. Like you didn't even accidentally, you didn't cough it
That
out.
was a whiff. I just swung and did not connect.
I'm going to keep this in my memory in case I need it again in the future. We're talking about stuff. I'll just say James, and then that'll put you right
Yes.
back in your place.
I'll be looking down at the floor and just about getting ready to cry.
All right, we don't want you to cry. So let us tell you, if you're still listening to us and with us, I want to share one more thing with you. I asked the members, Kurt and I asked the members to share what they had, and so my father gets the email. He's a shut-in. He'll be 87 in July, and so I recorded the phone call between he and I because he said to me, I can't type all these. I can't write an email with all the people and all the things. So that was really quite amazing. And you'll notice in the recording that I asked him not to use names. And I was telling Kurt earlier that he he broke that rule like within a second and a half or 2 seconds of the conversation. Like he's dropping names left and right. So I'm just thinking, okay, all right. We promise not to use names. And so what I tried to do is I just tried to put a bleep over those names because I really do want everyone to hear the recording. It's my dad, and he's been helped these past several years by so many in such amazing ways. And I think it's just a good way to end this. It's the where the rubber meets the road kind of an idea. It's the nuts and bolts of what it means to be a Christian, and then that benefit that someone enjoys and wants to express that. So I hope you can hear all of that in the recording. The recording will end with my dad trying to figure out a way to get everyone on his list in the show. And so the recording ends intentionally with him still asking me, so how are you going to put it out there? So here's the recording, and I hope you all enjoy it. But basically, it's just the names and all that aren't important. What's important is the effect that it has on you, and then how you can help others, and the encouragement you do with calling people on your birthdays and all that. Just kind of, just work through that with me, and just give me a list as it comes to your mind.
Well, I got to thinking about it. It kind of dawned on me. I thought, you know what? I ought to be in some kind of a special, not because it's me, but I ought to be in some special category, because so many people have come by. That makes sense?
Yeah, but you're basically going to be their voice. So just tell me again what you had come up with.
The names, you mean?
Well, no, if you can go without the names, that'd be great. But if not, just go ahead and tell me who they were again and what they did and why it mattered.
Well, and had been over here a couple times, or maybe 3 times a piece or so. But anyway, and they brought me lunch. That was just those two, and then of course just brought me brownies. And before she went on her trip, she said she was going to pick me up some potato soup. Oh, that sounds good. In other words, I've had all these people doing these things for me, which is amazing to me anyway. It's amazing that people are doing those things. And then of course, we're over here a couple of weeks ago or so, maybe, and we had a great dinner together. Have been here, and we had. In fact, they live in Peeville, so he stopped by and he asked me what I wanted, and I told him, since you're in Peeville, I'd like to have some Popeye spicy chicken. So he brought some chicken over, and then there's been a couple others that I can't remember who they were, but I don't want to leave anybody out either. But I mean, those are the people that have been over to visit. Those are blessings that people are going out of their way for. They're not coming over here to play dominoes, and they're not coming over here just to shoot the bull about fishing or something like that. People coming to see me, for example, is because of a dedicated heart, and somebody wants to do that. Then, of course, for me, as far as me, I take the pink sheet and I go, okay, well, I'll call this person and that person. So anyway, that's what I do. And I try to be very, just like helping you with those visitor cards. That's something I can do, and I can't do anything else. So I can do that. I can get that done for you.
Yeah.
And I try to send you copies of what I sent them and what have you, so you'll be informed about what's going on with me and whoever it is I contacted. So you might say something like, well, I'm not telling you what to say, but I mean something like, the fact that so many people come to visit my dad, and you can say that they come to visit and they come to study, and they come for friendly reasons, and they come for sharing a meal or something. In other words, just give kind of a blanket group of people. Now you can put down couples, or like you say, a young family and their kids. And I don't know how else to do it. That's what I was asking you about last night. How should we format this?
That's okay. We just did it.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah, I've got it all recorded, and I'll find the best way to share it.
Yeah, okay. And, I would like for everybody to know, too, that, I appreciate everything you do for me. I mean, it's just enormous.
That's right.
Well, that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so how you going to put it in there?
I love you, Dad.